Streets and Scholars, bringing you another banger. Alex Alonso and FG. I think we hitting on episode 43. FG, what's going on?
Oh man, it's good. Just working, bro. Just working.
Enjoying the football season?
Yeah, man, I'm doing that, man. I'm trying to see what these Trojans gonna do. Trying to see what these Cowboys gonna do, man.
Okay. How's it sounding in your headphones right now?
Yeah, it's good.
You good?
Man.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if we're gonna tap in on anything that we said last week. Is there anything you want to say, or should we just move on to the next thing?
Yeah, we gonna keep it rolling, man. Move on to the next thing.
Yeah, our last week's episode got a little reaction, but we're just gonna leave it alone. And first thing I wanted to say is that there are, as of last week, the federal government has arrested 955 people at the Capitol riot. So that number is continually rising.
Slowly but surely, yeah.
Slowly. And we're going to tap in on some guys that just got convicted. But it just lets me realize that a lot of folks that was like, oh, nah, all them dudes are going to get away with it because they white and they Trumpers. But the federal government has been putting it down on these people.
No doubt, and I was one of them that said that a lot of them was gonna get away. I thought they would, but at the same time, I did say, when you go against America, man, they got to stand on something, and this was clearly an act against them. So I figured, at the end of the day, man, they was gonna try to get cracking with these people.
Yeah, man, I'm actually, I don't know if it's because Joe Biden is the president and he's a Democrat and he didn't like what he saw. I don't know if that has anything to do with all the prosecutions, but at the end of the day, I believe over 1,000 people are going to end up catching cases.
No doubt, but there's still politics involved, Alex. You got to realize, that the Republicans can take a hit off this if they don't handle it just right. They reputation could be irreparably, broken if they don't show some kind of action towards it, because at the end of the day, they going to say, that these people, basically Trump supporters at the time, were Republicans and, the Republicans will get in there and try to overthrow the government. If that tries to get out, so I believe the politic part of it say, man, we got to nip this in the bud and we got to do something.
Yeah, I bet if Trump won the election, he wouldn't have prosecuted anybody. He would have told that whole office, stand down on all those folks. That's just my view on it.
Well, my view is this, the dudes was going to trial and lose and they leaving the appeals right open. Trump has openly stated that, if he had the chance, he may pardon some of these people. You know what I mean? I believe he probably would do something for most of or all of them, especially if he was to get in again. He don't have nothing to lose because he couldn't run the third time. So some of these people, I really believe, hoping that he get back in and leaving them appeals right open so they can have some action.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt that if Trump wins the election next year, and which he just announced that he's running, so
right.
So if he wins, all these January 6th dudes, they're gonna get pardoned for sure.
No doubt.
All right, hey, on episode 33, we was talking about Patrick Loyola, the guy that got shot and killed by that cop that just got charged with second-degree murder, I think. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about, we didn't know what the racial breakdown of Grand Rapids, Michigan was, but I looked it up. And it's a very white town because when you have 65% white, that's pretty white.
Right.
But it's 18% black, which means it's very black because the national average is 13%.
Oh, okay.
So there's going to be more. You're going to see more black folks walking around Grand Rapids, Michigan than you are other places. For example, LA is only like 9% black.
Right.
So their percentage black is double, and then it's only like 2% Asian. So it's basically a black-white town. So I don't know how that's going to play into the jury, but it's good to know that it's 18% black, which is pretty high.
No doubt, and this possibility that some blacks, like I keep preaching on a lot of the episodes of Streets and Scholars, hey, blacks, do your jury duty. Stop trying to duck it. We need you. Yeah.
It's hard. A lot of people they go to work. Like, for example, if you got a jury summons, man, you have a hell of a job that you got to go to. A lot of people are relying on your job. You just can't say, hey, I'm taking the day off, So what do you do in that situation? You get summoned. I know you have you're a convicted felon, so they usually don't. But let's just throw that out the window. Right. What do you do in a situation like that?
Well, the thing about it is, like I say, I do have coworkers who complain, and I'll be like, bro, go up in there and do it, and I understand sometimes it can be a financial burden on people. I don't know if you get paid for, do the job pay you for
Limited.
that. Okay, so that could be a different situation, that could deter people, but even if, without being a convicted felon, having family members and knowing what I do know that our people do need to be represented, because our people are the ones that's in court fighting for their lives. So, when you talk about a judge of your peers and you have an all-white jury or Hispanic and white jury, everybody's not going to see eye to eye with you. And it's not just so much a racial thing. It just could just be a demographic thing to even understand what you felt or understand where you come from for you to think how you think. I mean, we need our people in there, just to be honest with you.
We definitely need more of our people on the juries, but at the same time, we need to go to work and make that money.
Right.
We don't have the luxury.
Right.
We don't have the luxury of taking 5, 6, 7 days off of work.
I agree with you, Alex.
So I think the system is actually rigged to keep our people off the jury, because we constantly complaining, hey, I got to go to work. Hey, I got to take care of my kids. I ain't got time for this trial.
Well, you know what is funny? Because my coworker Anthony, he just got summonsed last week or something. He didn't show up. You know what I mean? He just said they go damn near to come knock on my door, man, before I go. But like you say, man, we were trying to get these bills paid. It's holiday season, and taking off like that. Yes, it do cause a burden on some households, And but I'm just saying on a bigger scale, we need to be represented. But I do understand the financial part.
Yeah. So I can't wait for this trial in Grand Rapids, Michigan, for this cop that killed Patrick Loyola, and I'm interested in knowing what kind of jury that's going to be. We'll find out soon. But 18% black in Grand Rapids, that's a lot of brothers and sisters there. All right. I made a mistake. I don't know if that was last episode. I said that Matt Barkley was number 1 on the USC list for yards passing in a season, and he is not number 1.
Oh, okay.
He actually had 3,500 yards in 2011, which is a lot. Mm-hmm. But the QB in the number 1 position for USC is Sam Darnold with 4,143 yards.
Oh, wow.
So and Sam Darnold is still in the league. I believe he's a backup somewhere.
Yeah. I remember he went to the Jets originally. He did his thing. They didn't have a great team, so that took effect on him. But I wouldn't have thought Sam Darnold if it wasn't. Man, I would have said Carson Palmer. I would have said someone, but I didn't know Sam Darnold threw that many yards.
Yeah, he was a beast at SC. But Carson Palmer's right up there. Matt Barkley's right up there.
Okay.
But Caleb, and then what's his name? Matt Leinart.
Matt
Leinart. He is number 4 on the list with 3,800 yards back in 2005. Mm-hmm. And Caleb Williams, after that win over Notre Dame, put him number 5 with 3,700 yards passing.
Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah, and if you add Caleb Williams' rushing yards, he is number 2 all time for a QB.
Oh, okay.
He ends up with about 4,063 total yards passing and running. So. Okay. He's got all the numbers to go to the league.
Yeah. Only thing about it, man, I'm trying to think of the last quarterback out of SC that was actually a superstar. Carson Palmer did his thing, but Matt Leinart was there. Like you say, Matt Barkley, Sam Darnold, they all went, but none of them became just standout, shut down, superstars.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of the last SC quarterback who did. I'm hoping that because few of those quarterbacks won the Heisman.
Yes,
I believe
Leinart won.
Yeah, then Carson Palmer won.
Carson Palmer won.
So, you got that Heisman curse, but I'm hoping Caleb, I want to see him win it, but I also want to see him go to the league and do great. Not just, good. I want to see him go be great.
Yeah, it's been a minute since a QB became a superstar in the NFL. There was another QB that had a short career at SC, made it to the league, named Mark Sanchez. I think he went to the Jets also.
Yeah, I remember Mark Sanchez.
But he didn't become one of those.
I liked Mark Sanchez.
He was good.
He was at SC, yeah.
He was good. So I believe the last superstar from USC that played QB in the NFL would probably be Rodney Peete. Remember Rodney Peete? We're going back to the late 80s.
Detroit and Rodney Peete, man. That was a long time
ago. Long time ago. So, man, Caleb Williams, I believe he's going to win that Heisman Trophy, and he will be drafted in the first. Well, it depends. Is he going to play another season at SC? He's only a sophomore.
Oh yeah, you got to play another season.
Yeah.
I wouldn't come out as a sophomore. I'm not knocking him. I wouldn't come out now based on you can make some money while you're in college now. So if it was based on, man, let me go try to get this money while it's available, that's one thing. But at the same time, if he win the Heisman, the amount of money that he can make off ads and endorsements and stuff like that, he can live well. I do think he may want to stay in another year, man. The NFL is brutal, man.
Yeah, and he could break some more SC records in his junior season if he decides to stay. So, yeah, man, sorry to all the Streets and Scholars listeners. I said Matt Barkley was number one. It's actually Sam Darnold with 4,143 yards, man. That's a lot of yards passing. But let's move on to one of our topics. Actually, before we move on to our first topic, I wanted to just mention that Eric Holder, the guy that was found guilty in killing Nipsey Hussle, he's in court this week trying to get his conviction not overturned, but changed from first degree to manslaughter. So that's going to be a hearing going on in court this week regarding his first degree murder conviction. His attorney filed a motion, said it should be manslaughter.
Have you ever seen that done after a person was found guilty by a jury, though?
Well, yeah, I have seen judges change juries' verdicts, but it's very rare.
Yeah, I've never even heard of it. Yeah,
it's very rare. It's got to be a huge mistake that the jury made.
Right.
And his attorney believes they made a mistake because they found him guilty of attempted voluntary manslaughter on the other two dudes he shot when he shot Nip. So basically the argument is if the jury found him guilty of attempted voluntary manslaughter against the other two victims, then the jury should have found them guilty of manslaughter on Nipsey. So they're going to argue that this week in court. If it doesn't work, which I don't think it will, he will be sentenced later in December. I believe it's going to be the 19th. He'll be sentenced on December 19th. So that's going on this week in court. And also early next week is Tory Lane's trial begins.
Right.
Early next week.
You gonna keep us up to abreast on that one a little bit at least?
I'm gonna try to go to the jury selection, which starts next week, and then if I have the time, I'm gonna sit in court and check it out because it's a little interesting.
Okay.
But hey, man, after we dropped our episode last week about Shanquella Robinson, I think you sent me a text saying that the Mexican authorities were seeking out an extradition or put out a warrant or something like that.
Right, no doubt. They did put out the warrant. They still not naming names, of course. We kind of have a feeling of who it is, I saw on a couple small outlets, which I'm not taking this for 100% fact or nothing like that, that she was arrested. But I did check the BOP website because this site says she was in federal custody, and then I didn't find her at all. I could have had the name spelling wrong. I spelled it a few different ways, and none of them came up. But that's just a rumor that I did see online through one site,
Yeah, when you're typing in those names on the BOP website, you got to have the first name and the last name, and it's got to be spelled right, or it ain't gonna work.
Exactly. So like I say, I put a few of them how I seen it spelled online, but nothing popped up. So if she's in federal custody, I definitely didn't find her.
So we don't know who that warrant is out for, but we're assuming it's going to be the girl that was that we saw in the video hitting her,
Dejanay Jackson,
and that's we think that's Dejanay Jackson.
You say, allegedly that was her, but that's the name that I tried to see if she was in custody yet, but I didn't find nothing.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, why is it only a warrant for one person and they're not seeking warrants to find out what happened from the other? I think total, I heard the mom speaking, total of 7 people, so that means there's 6 others. So other than Dejanay Jackson, there's 5 more people. Don't you think that they would want to speak to everybody that was there?
Well, I believe they will speak to everybody. I believe that once trial comes, people will be subpoenaed. I believe that more charges may come down, maybe lesser charges, but charges nonetheless, especially the camera guy. I keep hearing he's a person the interest that they may want to speak to. And I don't think everybody was, like you say, was just hands-on or definitely involved or instigating, but definitely if any part of the cover-up was was done by any of the others, then they may be found guilty, like I say, or tried or charged for some smaller crimes.
Now, I believe that Malik Dyer is the one with the camera.
Right.
Even though I'm not 100% sure.
Right.
Because Nazir Wiggins is the guy that pulled up later.
Right, or he he say he did,
Yeah,
and I'm not saying he not. I'm just saying I know that was his story. Like, hey man, I just got here, you know.
But I was watching the video again, and I just don't see how getting punched on. I mean, it was brutal. It was stomped down, but it didn't seem like that would kill somebody though.
Well, you know, Alice, it could be some stuff that we just didn't see. You know, could be a situation we didn't see. You know, people's bones are more fragile than others. You could fall off the bed and break a bone if you fall the wrong way. So it didn't have to be something that looked so brutal. But like you say, I didn't either, actually. You know, I saw the, hitting, but I didn't see nothing that'll break a back or a bone or a neck from the videos that I saw.
Yeah. Let's see. I have a couple clips here that I wanted to play of this situation. Rolland Martin has his own digital show on YouTube, and he's been covering this better than anybody. And one of his critiques is that white media, like the networks, CNN, MSNBC, all of them, they're not covering this. Mm-hmm. And it's, whenever a white person is missing, like Miss Holloway, I think in Aruba.
Right, remember that.
There was another white girl last year. It seems like there's wall-to-wall coverage on these missing white women, or if there's a crime against a white woman abroad, wall-to-wall coverage. But when it comes to black folks, it just they don't give a F.
No doubt, and it's not no secret. They're not trying to hide it. But if you really pay attention, man, it is lack of coverage. It took certain groups, multiple groups, in order to get this publicly known and awareness out to the public, but it wasn't through the major networks like usual.
Now, Rolland Martin from his digital YouTube show, he interviewed the mom. I want to play this little clip here. She gives us a little insight of what happened. Let me see here if I can, let me cue this up.
On our show,
here we go.
For such an occasion, certainly our condolences go out to you.
You might hear a little of a delay in this interview.
An arrest warrant has been issued, but you were just told so many different stories as to what actually happened to your daughter by her so-called friends.
Yes.
So when they got back from the trip with her luggage, what did they tell you happened to your daughter?
That she got sick from drinking. It was alcohol.
And so that was their initial story. So there were several. And how many friends went with her? Was it 3, 4, 5? How many total folks were in this party?
It was 7.
Seven, including your daughter. And so they get back, they tell you it was alcohol poisoning, but then the autopsy, it tells a totally different story.
Yes.
Now, were the friends in contact with you and the family all throughout? And when the autopsy report was released, is that when they went radio silent?
Yes, they did.
And their reference as her friends, how long did she know the individuals who she traveled there with?
From 5 to 7 years. She went to college.
They went to college together.
Yes.
I read several stories where you said that these folks often were at your home. You knew them, and these were people who were close with your daughter.
No, I didn't know anyone but Khalil Cook. The other ones, I did not know them. All I know that she went to school with them. Khalil Cook used to come to our house and go on family trips with us. He's supposed to have been her best friend.
And so that's one of the gentlemen you said, and he went on family trips. And when was the last time you heard from him?
I haven't heard from him since the autopsy came back. And that's been about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago when the autopsy first came back. And I haven't heard from him since.
Hey, let's pause right there, man. The best friend tapped in with the family.
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol poisoning. Autopsy comes back. It ain't alcohol poisoning. And then you disappear.
Right.
That's crazy.
It's also stupid. You know, you provided an excuse when you didn't have to provide anything. You could have came back and said she passed away. You still don't know how. You trying to figure it out. You trying to get an understanding. You know what I mean? But you came with an excuse. That's to some degree, that's lying. That's deception. That's and this supposed to be a best friend of yours. This is, you looking the best friend mom in the eye, with a full lie. Instead of just saying Miss Jackson, I don't know if that's her last name, but I don't know.
Miss Robinson.
Miss Robinson. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm trying to get to the bottom of it as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you you conspired to lie. And then like you say, once that autopsy report came back, which I don't know how you guys college students, you should know at least that's gonna happen. You know what I mean? But I did hear that there was probably this close for an autopsy report not even getting done because you were over there and all that. So they might have came this close to walking out on this.
Man, it's starting to look more and more like a plot against this young lady, man. Because when you come back and you tell the family a story that is absolutely not true, then in some way or form, you're a part of this thing.
Immediately.
Yeah.
If somebody come back and tell me something about one of my kids, even a homie, you come back and say that this would happen, and then I find out it's a lie, to me, you a part of it, bro. You know what I mean? You instantly a part of it to me, and I believe the police gonna think like that. I believe the feds gonna think like that. And I believe the Mexican authorities is gonna think like that. So that's why I say I believe that they're gonna be speaking to the rest of these people that was involved in this situation for sure.
Yeah, but I'm a little surprised that the Mexican government has only issued a warrant for one of these 6 people. So, I'm not really feeling confident in this investigation thus far. And then let's play the rest of this is the mom. Her name is Sallamandra or I ain't never heard this name, so forgive me for not saying it right. Sallamandra or Sallamandra Robinson. This is the mother. Let's continue.
When the prosecutors announced the arrest warrant, did they reach out to you to inform you of this beforehand?
Yes, they did, but they never told me who was being arrested, and they also haven't said that they have arrested anyone yet.
You also have the FBI there in Charlotte. They're involved. And what's the latest that they have informed you in terms of their role in this case?
Well, they're not telling a lot. They don't want anything to get out. They just keeping everything confidential. So they have not told me anything else.
We've seen a number of different stories, again, folks talking about this case and your daughter. And you've credited Black Twitter with actually making this possible in terms of the focus, because, frankly, mainstream media has completely ignored this story, and it's certainly not gotten the attention of other people who have been involved in cases like this here, folks who have come up missing or who have died overseas.
Yes, that's so true.
What would you like for folks to know about your daughter that folks don't know? Of course, people know her as a result of this here. But who was she? What was she going to college for? And what would you want folks to know about her?
She was a good person. She had a good heart. She loved everybody. She loved life, and she went to college for business. And she just had a heart of gold. And I know that there's nothing that she could have done to anyone to make him do her like that.
The GoFundMe that's been created. We had Tamika Mallory on last week, the co-founder of Until Freedom. And, of course, your family going to be traveling back and forth. A number of people have contributed. I think already has exceeded almost $400,000.
Wow.
And so what would you like to say to the folks who have stepped up and assisted you and the family in this time of need?
I want to thank each and every one. If you only made a phone call, you gave a donation, whatever, I would like to thank you, because we're really going to need it to be for our attorney to go to Mexico and come back and somewhere to stay. And we also going to need it. So we really appreciate each and every one of you.
All right. That's the mother. Her name is Sallamandra. Mm-hmm. Sallamandra Robinson. Have you ever met a Sallamandra before?
Never.
Sallamandra Robinson, and Rolland Martin is on top of this case probably more than anybody on the internet, anyone online. He's got a digital show called Rolland Martin Unfiltered, and one of the things that Rolland has touched on is the lack of coverage. And it's crazy that Black Twitter, Black Twitter is the one that brought this to light at the level that it's been brought to.
No doubt, but at the same time, I'm happy that happened. I appreciate how it went down. Now, this is at the end of the day. We see what's going on, but we can't make no excuses. Us as Black people, they not coming through. CSNBC, CNN, whoever it is, you're not coming through. We need to do it ourselves. This is why we need to be in positions, Alex, and so many different platforms and so we can get it out. This is the unity that I'm talking about. This is the love that I'm talking about. So if it took Black Twitter, if it took, dozens of smaller, organizations to push it across the country, I'm glad that they did, and I'm glad they started to, because we're going to start taking stuff into our own hands if this continues to happen.
No doubt, and I'm glad that we got this platform, Streets and Scholars, to tap in on this topic, which I plan on revisiting this topic all the way, to the end of it. I mentioned a couple of white girls that got like major coverage. The girl from last year, 2021, that got killed on a road trip, her name was Gabby Petito. Mm-hmm. You go look up her name and look at the coverage that she got. It was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm, no doubt.
And then back in 2005, Natalie Holloway, she came up missing in Aruba when she went to the island of Aruba.
I definitely remember that one.
Yeah. So this is the type of coverage that, someone such as Miss Robinson needs. But hey, the internet is here to do that. And, we have platforms. Rolland Martin is certainly putting it out there. And I got one more clip that the local North Carolina, this is a big story for North Carolina. Mm-hmm. So they've been covering it there. This is from their local news affiliate there in North Carolina. Let me play this clip right here.
A Charlotte woman's death in Mexico.
Well, tomorrow marks 1 month since Shanquella Robinson mysteriously died while on vacation, and anchor Morgan Francis broke the story of her death and joins us now live in the studio. Morgan, this story has gained international attention.
Yeah, Brian, it really has, so much so there are now multiple petitions on change.org pleading for justice in this case. One has about 28,000 signatures, but some of the information posted on these petitions are leading people to agencies and people not directly involved in this case. While the cry for justice is only growing louder, the investigative process into Shanquella Robinson's death might take some time. The Attorney General's office of Baja California Sur issued an arrest warrant for one of the so-called friends on the trip with Shanquella Robinson, but didn't release that person's name. According to the Office of International Affairs, or OIA, that division of the Justice Department handles the extradition and removal of fugitives, saying it, quote, plays a central role in apprehending and returning fugitives to justice so that they may be held accountable for their crimes. Mexican prosecutors say they're investigating Robinson's death as a femicide, meaning they believe her violent death was motivated by gender. Prosecutors say her death was the result of a direct attack, not an accident, as allegedly stated by her friends. Authorities in Mexico are also looking into a possible cover-up and omission of facts, something that to Shanquella's mother, Sallamandra, seems obvious. The doctor on the scene, who was with Shanquella for nearly 3 hours, failed to mention her physical injuries.
I don't understand why not. She had a knot on her head, lip was busted.
Now as the slow trickle of evidence emerges, Sallamandra thinks back to the night she had one of the so-called friends on the trip over for dinner.
We told him what the autopsy said, and he just got sick, like he just started eating him up in the inside. And he just took off his shirt, started sweating, and said he had to go home because he was about to faint.
She hasn't seen that man since. The listing for the villa where they stayed has been taken off a number of websites, but not all. And while family anxiously awaits for the day someone is arrested, they're also hoping a second autopsy done here in the States will give more insight into Shanquella's death.
All right, that's the local North Carolina. That's Queen City News in North Carolina. And they've been on top of it since day one. But yeah, one of the things I wanted to remind people is that if you want to donate, there's like a whole bunch of fake GoFundMes.
Right.
So I'm going to put a link to the real GoFundMe page in the show notes of this episode if you're interested in doing that, because I was listening to Tamika Mallory, And she was like, there's like 3 or 4 fake cakes.
Yeah.
Isn't this crazy that people will try to take advantage of someone's tragedy for profit using the internet and GoFundMe and legitimate platforms to funnel money towards them, not knowing they're going to get arrested at some point?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I don't know about the arrest part, because is it even illegal to open up a GoFundMe in somebody's name that or in related to somebody for a certain cause, or you just really have to know which fund to donate to.
I think it is fraud. I remember about a year ago, someone got arrested for doing something similar. But if you raise like millions of dollars, let's say you raised thousands of dollars on a GoFundMe page that you created on behalf of a family member that you're not related to, they're gonna come for you at some point. But a lot of these people are doing this overseas.
No doubt. You got them professionals out there, Alex, that this is what they do.
It's hard to find them.
Yes, this is what they do. But what I did check out in that last clip was the way that they got at the dude when he was over there.
Yeah,
read him the autopsy report, man, and I'm talking about his face probably just dropped. They say he got to sweat and took his shirt off. Of course you did. I don't know if I would have had the strength to even let him out the house without choking him out, or you know what I mean. But yeah, he did. That was a cold thing. Hey, they got him on that one.
Man, I wish they would have had a camera going in there. They got him cold. That would have been the best friend.
Yeah, I didn't know they did it like that.
Yeah. So that's how we know something fishy is going on. But I'm going to make sure that you guys, if you want to tap into the GoFundMe, I'm going to put the proper link. And at some point, I would expect more arrests. Or I wouldn't even be surprised if the FBI decides to charge them here in the United States for violating some conspiracy laws.
No doubt. I believe something will go down, man. I don't believe this will go just totally, just one person, plus I believe she gonna get to sing, and I don't got her hole in her mud, so the facts gonna come out because they gonna tell it.
No doubt. All right, let's tap back in with the Capitol riots thing, man, because there was a huge trial, man. The Oath Keepers is like this militia, nationalist, racist group of pro-Trump supporters led by a dude named Stewart Rhodes. And they went on trial for the whole riot, man, and pretty much everyone was found guilty. There were a couple of not guilties on some other charges, but all the main charges stuck. And the leader, Stewart Rhodes, was found guilty of a very, very rare charge called sedition, which is overthrowing of the government, or an attempted overthrowing. And they're all going to be going to the feds soon.
No doubt they are going to be, but like you say, most of them took the lesser charges of obstructing the justice of some. But Stewart Rhodes and I think it was Kelly Megg or somebody, man, them two got that sedition. Is it sedition? I've never heard of that charge before.
It's called seditious conspiracy.
Wow, yeah, I've never heard that, but I heard it was serious.
Yeah, let me read seditious conspiracy because it's a very rare charge. I don't even think they've used this. I don't think they've charged anyone with seditious conspiracy in the United States in decades. But it's 2384 of the Federal Code, and it reads: if 2 or more persons in any state or territory or in any place subject to the jurisdiction of the U.S. conspire to overthrow, put down, or destroy by force the government of the United States, or to levy war against them, or to oppose by force the authority thereof, or by force to prevent, hinder, or delay the execution of any law of the United States, or by force to seize, take, or possess any property of the United States, contrary to the authority thereof, they shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 20 years or both. So that's the max. 2 of them Oath Keepers were found guilty of that. So 20 years, man, that's a lot.
No, it's a long time, man. But like I say, they just had to go and put their foot down on somebody. It was these guys. But they found real evidence. They hid guns right outside of D.C. and Virginia. The weapons that they had was a nice stockpile of some heavy ammo. Some big shit. They tried to make it seem like they didn't plan it. That didn't pan out. They saw that through text message and phone call records and all those things that this was planned. Wasn't planned for everybody to do this, but for the main dude, Stewart Rhodes, man, he had a plan all along.
Yeah, and he was pretty much inspired by Donald Trump, so that kind of ties him into it because his name kept coming up in the trial. Why'd you do this? Well, Donald Trump said this.
Right.
Donald Trump said that. So this is a direct connection to the words that Donald Trump said to a bunch of dudes that decided to try to overthrow the government.
No doubt. And he also said if Donald Trump would have said, go, take it further, they would have.
Yeah.
You know, so they found him on that charge, man, that I never heard of, but it seemed like they gonna try to get him, you know, rack up some time on those two.
Yeah, let me play a little clip here because this is a huge story here. This is the biggest trial. This is a little bit bigger than Guy Reffitt. Guy Reffitt is the first dude to go to trial, and he got his 7 years. But I think these guys are gonna get a little bit more than what Guy Reffitt got. Let me cue this up.
Let's get right to our
Here we go.
breaking story. The leader of the Oath Keepers, Stewart Rhodes, convicted on the very serious and rare charge of seditious conspiracy. CNN senior national correspondent Sarah Seidner is outside of the courthouse here in Washington, D.C. Sarah, this is a historic verdict. Tell us about how big of a win this is for the Justice Department and really the precedent that it sets.
Yeah, there is no doubt this is a very important moment in history for the Justice Department in particular, but for justice in this country. This was a case that was the first trial of a seditious conspiracy trial to be brought. And so this is
first
sort
time
of the
ever.
government's attempt at trying to, as they see it, get justice for what happened on January 6th. And who they went after is this group of people who are part of a militia known as the Oath Keepers, a far-right group who used to say that they were, sort of anti-government, but then when Donald Trump came into power, they started backing Donald Trump and wanting Donald Trump to continue to hold on to power even after the election of 2020 said he did not win the election. So here's what we have. The government has proven its case when it comes to Stewart Rhodes, the founder of the Oath Keepers. He founded it in 2009. That seditious conspiracy charge he has been found guilty of. So has one of his top lieutenants, Kelly Meggs. Those are the only two people, though, out of the 5 people who have been charged in this case with seditious conspiracy to be convicted of the charge. The others have been found not guilty by this jury. And what this tells you is that the jury has gone through each of their stories, each of their defenses, which were very different, by the way. They all had different stories as to what they were doing there, why they were there. And the biggest and most important thing is that the government was trying to prove that they were trying to stop the peaceful transfer of presidential power by using force. They said, yes, Stewart Rhodes is guilty of that, as is Kelly Meggs. Stewart Rhodes, however, never went into the Capitol. So when you start looking down at some of these other charges, like conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, Stewart Rhodes was found not guilty. And the reason why we are bringing his name up over and over again is partly because he founded this group, the Oath Keepers, and each of these people, 4 of them, all 4 of them are members, and one of them was an associate of this group. He was sort of seen by the government as the leader of these actions, the person who was talking the most, who was messaging the most, who had the most to say. Just after the election, the government has these text messages and these messages where he starts talking about civil war when it is determined that Joe Biden won the 2020 election over Donald Trump. And so a lot of his verbiage and his wording really, I think, struck this jury.
Okay, historic convictions, but the feds, they didn't win all the convictions, so that's a little surprising because everyone says the feds have an incredible conviction rate. I mean, you know all about that because you've sat down with all these dudes for years.
No doubt.
That either took deals or didn't want to go to trial because of the high rate of conviction that the feds have. But at the same time, a lot of the charges that they hit with the Oath Keepers, the juries came back not guilty on them.
Well, when it comes to the charges, most of the time the feds are like the state in those aspects when they add multiple charges. So at the end of the day, yeah, they be having some ironclad cases, but not for all charges. So I have seen people personally walk in there with 4 or 5 charges and get actually found guilty of 1 or 2. They still get that time, though, for the 1 or 2, but at the same time, some of those other charges do be on there or get dropped, So in this case, they couldn't find the other players guilty on this, the big charge, so they hit them with the lesser charges. got him and Kelly Meggs on the big ones, and because they were leaders and lieutenants, of course they gonna always get the most time. And they have another trial coming up with some more Oath Keepers next week. And then who else they charging with the seditious conspiracy is the Proud Boys trial coming up next month. So we're going to see how that pan out and see if any of them, because I heard it's really hard to get that conviction on that charge.
Yeah, I mean, I just read this and it is pretty crazy. Like, you got to prove that you wanted to levy war against the government for using force to overthrow, to prevent. It's a lot of stuff here. But I wonder if the feds oftentimes, like in this case, this is a good example, they just throw a whole bunch of charges out there, knowing that you're not guilty of all of them, but they're going to make your ass work in court for your life to defend them.
No doubt.
Even though they know you're guilty of one of these, but I'm going to charge you with 5 of these.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty rare that the feds lose. But when I'm reading this, I'm like, wow, how are they not guilty of this, but they're guilty of that? And if they're not guilty of this, why did you even charge them in the first place?
Well, I believe some of these charges overlap, with the same kind of saying they did the same thing over, So I believe sometimes that's a situation. But yeah, they'll do it. They'll put them charges in there, man, to try to get you to bite, and or when it's time to take a deal, they say we'll drop this, and this if you plead guilty to this. So they not so much different in that aspect, but they do come to get their man, and most of the time they do.
Now this seditious conspiracy, this is the most serious. Max for Meggs and Rhodes is 20 years. I don't know if they'll get the 20 years. I remember what was the max on the last dude? The max on him was what, 15?
Who, Guy Reffitt?
Guy Reffitt. I think the max on him was, I think the max may have been like 20 or something, or 15.
I don't know what the max was on his, but like you said, they gave him 7-8 years.
Yeah.
I believe that these two dudes, being that they were the leaders, being that especially Stewart Rhodes, he put so much effort into making this happen, and the charge, he may get the dub, man.
I'm thinking 120 months.
10?
Yeah, give them the 120. It seems like that's the Fed's most favorite sentence to just give people. Like they pass 120 months.
That's not like, man, it's water. You want a water? Or you want the 20 to 20 months to go with it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, but they will receive a significant amount of time, man, because that even with the 120 months, man, I mean, that ain't nothing to sniff at.
Hell nah. But I was tripping when we spoke about Hush Puppy, the Nigerian dude that faked, had all these businesses. He took what, 28 million?
Yeah, he took a lot of money.
He got 120 months.
Yeah, no doubt. That's why I said, man, I got robbed.
Yeah.
And
you could have went and did a $30 million scam, stashed that money, did your 120 months.
Right, no doubt.
But hey, when you do something like that, everyone thinks that these guys have money stashed. The feds are going to be on your ass on your release regardless.
Oh, no doubt. It'll be hard to access any kind of thing you got going, man. They definitely gonna be on you because they definitely looking for it, and
then they hit you with the restitution for just as much as you scammed.
Exactly, exactly, and that hurts just as well, So Hush Puppy definitely gonna have a time when he do get out, but he gonna be out though, so that's important.
Yeah, so I think they might just give Meggs and Rhodes this 120 months and give the other guys. I don't know what the obstruction. I don't know what the max on obstruction is, but I'm sure they're going to get it about, probably like 3-4 years. And I'm just glad that they took this January 6th thing serious, man. It's like, how long has it been? 1.5 years? Almost going on 2.
Almost 2 years, sure.
Almost 2. And we got almost 1,000 people charged, and we got people going to prison. So I think the government did their job.
Well, I believe they had to, though. If they didn't, they would have seemed weak, and it could have came again from a different side that you didn't want it to come from. Now you got to do something. So say if something happened again and the blacks were to do it. Now you want to give blacks, 100 years each, but you didn't do nothing to these guys when they did it. So I believe they had to, try to make an example of these people. And not to mention, they did some serious shit if you ask me. You went up in there, man, tried to break up in there, and people got hurt, and somebody died, and whether it's your fault or not, somebody died, and it was shit. That shit was wild.
Yeah, man, that was some real gangster shit that they did. And just the visuals of it, when you look at the footage of it, the shit looked crazy.
Crazy, man.
Yeah, and how dare America ever challenge black folks for protesting in the streets when somebody's killed by the police for their little bit of rioting, for, you know, burning up a block or burning up a Taco Bell or burning up a store.
Right.
These mofos went up in the government.
Man. So to me, they didn't take it as serious as they should have. But I believe once they sit down and they had to do what they had to do, they start making arrests and start, you know, trying to make it seem like it is what it is. But I believe, you know, I still believe, man, them dudes is getting sweet deals for what they did, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and the whole thing was based on a lie anyway. So it's not like they even had a noble fight, you know, for the reason why they went up in there. But let's move on to this last thing, man. I wanted to tap in with this last episode, but we didn't have time. But there was another officer-involved shooting of a black man, an unarmed black man, similar to the Patrick Lyoya case,
right,
where there was a taser involved and there was a scuffle. Did you see that video? It's of a man named Derek Kittling.
Yeah, I definitely saw it. That was down in Louisiana, wasn't it? Yeah, I saw it.
What did you think of that whole situation, man?
You know what? Like I say, man, I be having mixed feelings, Alex, just based on, you know, and I do have to understand, you know, because when I get pulled over by the police, I'm compliant based on I'm in the city, I'm in Los Angeles, I'm understand the dynamics of, you know, what can happen, especially being an ex-felon. When you're not a felon and the police pull you over, or say when I was rolling around and I didn't have a gun, I'm talking big shit to the police. What you pull me over? If I'm not, he ain't been drinking and I don't got a pistol, I'm talking shit. You know what I mean? You know, man, what you pull me over for? Cause you know, and so I get why when these people get pulled over, regular citizens in different places across the country, when they get pulled over, they don't comply. Why are you pulling me over? What's the problem? You know? And first I used to take it as, bro, just chill, let the officer do his thing. But regular people don't do that. I only do that because, like I say, I had some drugs or a gun in the car, so I'm gonna be nice. Hey, officer, how you doing? You know what I mean? But regularly, I get it. It's just I am tired of seeing these police officer involved shootings with black people.
Yeah, it's this one is kind of similar to Patrick Lyoya, but I'm gonna probably look at it a little bit different. But I wanted to mention that I just got pulled over. I get pulled over every once in a while. We all do here in LA. You know, I think I get pulled over twice a year. I don't know. That's probably more than the average person. Got pulled over the other night, right on Western Avenue, y'all. Y'all know Western Avenue if you're in Los Angeles. That's one of our most vicious thoroughfares that goes through the city.
No doubt.
And it was late at night, dark, you know, so I was on my best behavior. So I pulled over. Officer comes over to me. I got my hands on the steering wheel, both hands on the steering wheel. He comes over to me. He says, you know why you pulled me over? I said, nah, officer, I have no idea. And we get to talking. And he said, you got a driver's license? And I said, it's in my back pocket. Can I get it? He says, sure. You got insurance registration? I said, it's over there. Can I get it? He says, sure. And then he tells me, relax, man.
Yeah.
He says, just relax. I said, nah, I ain't relaxing. It's 1 o'clock in the morning and I ain't trying to get my head blown off.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel when I get pulled over. And I'm not a felon. I have no convictions. I have no criminal history, you know?
Well, the thing about it is the average person, they wouldn't know that the standard operating procedure is to ask, hey, man, do you mind if I grab? You know, that's like no one else probably asks that, Alice. Regular people probably don't even, they probably just reach in their glove compartment or reach in their pocket. The first thing I do is I'm going to ask, you mind if I grab it? It's right here. You mind if I grab it? You know, and so that would sound strange to, you know, regular people, you know, but that's what we do here, man. You mind if I grab it? You know, just so this move I'm finna make, I don't need you talking about I was reaching for nothing. You know, so I get you on that one. I
even sent a text to my wife right when the lights went on. I said, hey, I'm getting pulled over. I'm on Western, and tap in with me in a few minutes and make sure everything is good. But I did get pulled over in the daytime. I actually have a video of me getting pulled over, and I was talking my mess on that one because I felt more comfortable. But I want to play this clip of Mr. Kittling, Derek Kittling. He's a 45-year-old man. He's getting pulled over by a deputy named Rodney Anderson. And just listen to the verbal exchange here. Let me cue this up.
Turn around and put your hands behind
All right, they start off with the whole. Let me get it from the beginning. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Let's start right here.
Louisiana State Police released body camera, squad dash camera, and bystander cell phone video of the incident as they investigate the shooting.
We got 3 camera angles
Sunday,
on
November
the shooting.
6th in Alexandria, Louisiana. At about 1:18 that afternoon, Rapides Parish Sheriff Deputy Rodney Anderson pulled over a Chevy Silverado for a traffic violation.
Stay right there. Right here. To the truck. To the truck.
Anderson instructed the driver, later identified as 45-year-old Derek Kittling, to stand near the back of the vehicle and keep his hands outside of his pockets.
To the back of your truck. Show me. Keep your hands out your pockets. Put them on the. Walk to the back of your truck.
Body camera video shows Anderson asking Kittling repeatedly to approach the back of the truck.
To the back of your truck. Show me. Keep your hands out your pockets. Put them on the. Walk to the back of your truck.
When Anderson approaches Kittling, Kittling asks what is going on.
Face back here. Face your truck for me. Face your truck.
What's this?
Huh?
What's the issue?
Because you agitate, you turn around, you ain't following nothing.
I am following.
Look, turn.
I don't hear you. Can I get my phone, sir?
We'll get to that. Just turn and face the truck. Turn and face the truck.
What I did?
Face the truck.
The Louisiana State Police later revealed Anderson pulled Kittling over for a violation with his window tint and modified exhaust. According to the body camera video, Anderson does not tell Kittling why he was pulled over.
What is wrong with you? Why is you grabbing on me, man?
Give me a unit.
Why you grabbing on me, bro?
Turn around.
After a few seconds of conversation, a struggle broke out. Body camera video shows Anderson holding both of Kittling's arms before grabbing for his taser. Kittling also reaches for the taser before the pair fall to the ground. Body camera video then shows a struggle on the pavement. According to the Louisiana State Police, the taser was deployed twice. Right now, they have not determined whether either person was actually tased. Officials say when Anderson lost control of the taser on the ground, Kittling allegedly grabbed it. After that, Anderson opened fire.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
All right. That's the point where he pulls a strap out and he shoots and kills him. And, you know, I feel a little different about this one than about Patrick Loyola because Patrick ran. Once he ran, he elevated the game. Mm-hmm. This dude didn't run. And he was getting pulled over for tinted windows. How does getting pulled over for tinted windows end up in you getting killed?
True, but I saw another angle from the passerby vehicle that was going on from that other angle because different angles do show different stuff. From that other angle, Alex, just from that other angle, when they passed by, this guy was on top of the deputy or I don't know if they're sheriffs or not, but he was on top of the officer. You know, he clearly was more physical than the officer. The taser fell and he reached for it. The officer didn't reach for his gun. When you talk about a court of law, you know what I mean? This is where I'm saying that this cop can beat this. You know what I mean? Based on, you know, I was scared for my life. This guy went to grab my taser after a physical confrontation. I'm not justifying at all. I'm saying how the police officer probably can come with his defense. Now, let me back up all the way to the beginning of the traffic stop. As soon as he pulled him over, he jumped out the truck, you know, and what's going on, you know. He did seem a little agitated. He could have just been mad. Why the fuck are you pulling me over, man? You know what I mean? My tags is good. I live around here. What did you pulling me over for? Because he was from that town. But would you think it would have went different if he would have just sit in the truck and let the officer come up to his window like a regular citation? And how much easier or you think that would have went? You know what I mean? I mean, the officer still could have said, get out the car, still harassed him, still caused some friction with him, and the situation could have still went the same, but we don't know. You know, normally when the officer pulls us over, we wait till he come up the window and see and tell us what's going on. This situation was a little different. Unfortunately, this man lost his life, you know, but I do get him. Why are you pulling me over? What's the problem? The officer went up to him, Alex, and grabbed both of his wrists, man. Yeah. I would have took offense to that immediately. You know what I mean? You can walk up to me and just grabbing my arm and get off me, dude. Yeah. So I get it after that. I'm saying before that, could it went different. But after you grab both of this man's arms, man, it was on. It was fair game. I feel him after that.
Well, if this was a window tint violation, he should have told him that when the guy asked him.
No doubt.
When Derek Kittling asked him, what's this all about? He said, well, you acting kind of funny. He could have just said, hey, I'm pulling you over for tinted windows.
It wasn't a window tint violation.
It originally probably never was.
But you know they good to go back and look and see what can a modified exhaust. Come on, man, we in the middle of the damn country, man. Knock it off. So you know they good at that. They good at going to see what was the. You know we gonna find the reason. You know after we overlook the. But when the man asked me what's the problem, and you would have said, man, you know you got dark tint, man, the modified exhaust. The driver probably could have relaxed. The driver could have said, hey, man, listen, it's hot out here, the sun. But, you know, whatever his story was. But at the same time, you didn't tell him because you didn't have one. You pulled him over probably because he was black. You know, that's the first thing you did. You didn't have nothing to do. You pulled him over because he was black. You know, his tags wasn't bad. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, man, you know, what you started off as malice, you know, and this is where, because of that, I believe that you should be charged with killing a black man, unarmed black man, because these probably were your intentions, just to pull over a black man, you know, not really to pull him over for his tint, you know. So it's so many different dynamics in that. Before, I could have said dude could have stayed in the car and just see what the officer was talking about. After he grabbed his arm, now it's all bets are off.
Yeah, I think that Deputy Rodney Anderson escalated this whole situation. Even though I'm going to preach to all the boys and girls out there, always comply. I want y'all to always comply to the police, to the law enforcement. But in this situation, I believe the deputy escalated it to where the killing is his fault. Like you said, he grabbed his hands. He grabbed his wrist.
No doubt.
There's no reason for that. Even if the guy is not doing all your commands, apparently it's a tint. It's a window tint pullover. You treating him like he got dope and guns in the car or something like that.
Or he's a suspect in something else. I mean, Alex, even if he was inebriated, even if he had been drinking and he wasn't complying, he didn't throw off that he was a threat to you either. You know what I mean? So when you walked up to him grabbing all on his wrist, don't come up to me grabbing all on me, man. And I get it. And that's one reason why I do comply, because you come up to me, you know, like you say, touching all, grabbing all on me, you know, then it can escalate. And like you say, like from the beginning, from the pullover, he probably had ulterior motives, you know, not to kill a man, but, you know, to harass this dude, you know, and it went a little different than he thought, you know what I mean? So I do think this dude need to be held accountable.
Yeah, so far the deputy hasn't been charged with anything, but the family of Derek Kittling hired Benjamin Crump.
Yeah. So
they're going to be suing. And I do think that because he escalated this, I'm talking about the deputy, I'm not talking about Derek Kittling. Right. The cop could have handled this in so many other ways, but I believe what you said. This is about harassment. This is about racial profiling. This is about, I want to see what this black dude was going on with him right now. He didn't probably violate anything. Now the story is, we pulled him over for tinted windows.
No doubt, and that's where I go to. You know, sometimes it's sounding like I'm in defense of the officer, the deputy, but my whole thing is I do have to jump to. He have a fight to fight too. He have a defense that he has to come with in order to not be charged or not be fired. So he's going to do the best he can. And in that situation, I believe he's going to try to state that this dude overpowered me, you know, took my taser. And not that it was wrestling and it failed. You know, he took my taser. You know, he going to have a whole spin on it, you know, for his department and for his defense, you know.
No, I understand why the deputy killed him, but you created that situation.
No doubt, you know, but at the same time, like you say, it fell on the ground and dude grabbed it. You know, I don't know all the way how these tasers work. I've never been hit with one, but it seemed like these officers still can jump up, get their gun, aim it, put it down. You know what I mean? And if the guy don't point it at you, he shouldn't be shot. Just because he grabbed it, they never said he pointed it at him, Alex. You know what I mean? Soon as he grabbed it, you shot him. No, that's not good enough.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some charges. This is out of Alexandria, Louisiana. And I think these officers, these deputies, they need to learn de-escalation. Because this is a guy that maybe didn't understand everything that's going on. He's like, hey, what's going on? What's the reason? You got to be able to communicate to the motorist. But of course, if it's what you said, this is all about harassment, they don't care about any of that. They don't care about that. And that's why the George Floyd Justice Act and some of these other laws that they want to pass is going to change the game in policing. You ain't just going to be able to pull people over like you just did Derek Kittling. and you possibly might get away with murder because you escalated the entire situation to where you ended up killing him, and it could have been handled so much easier.
So much easier, especially when you're not talking about never mentioned he was a convicted felon, never mentioned he had a gun in the car, never mentioned he had drugs in the car, because
none of that.
They definitely would have mentioned all of this. This is just another black, a man living his daily life, you know what I mean? And this is a situation that it came to. Now, this is one thing about when we go back to policing the community. You know what I mean? I don't think the town that they stayed in was so big that you may have never seen this man before. You know what I mean? He didn't have 4 or 5 people in the car with him. He wasn't probably, banging no loud music or burning rubber or doing donuts. This is a grown man. And you pulled over and escalated the situation, and what you escalated it to, and your words of action, walk to the back of the truck. You started it off on some bullshit. Man, what's going on, man? Hey, man, look, man, you got some money. I just pulled you over for the tent and the exhaust. That lowers everything. Okay, that's the only problem we know now. That's a ticket. Walk to the back of the truck, face the truck, doing all this extra stuff, man. Then you just grab the dude hands. He escalated definitely.
Yeah, and to all the Streets and Scholars listeners, you ain't seen this video, I'm gonna put a link in it in the show notes so that you can tap in with this. And I'd love to get y'all opinion, y'all view on this. And where you just dropped some new content real quickly. What can the people check out on your channel right now?
Oh man, you can go over there and check out a good interview, man, with TP from down there in San Diego and Emerald Hills, man, about football games that the Compton and San Diego guys put together to build unity and a good bond, a good friendship. It didn't go without like I say, arguments and camaraderie, but we had a good time. It's a good video over there on FG Unleashed. They can also tap in with me, which they have been doing on Instagram at FGeneral1, and that's where I'm at, Alec.
Okay, and if you want to follow me on any of my socials, just go to my website, streetgangs.com, click on the contact link, and all my socials will be on there. And thanks for tapping in on another fire episode of Streets and Scholars.